day 3 of posting songs about history. A little late, but we're here. Obviously today is all about Pompeii. And the thing with Pompeii that I find the most interesting isn't necessarily the disaster and the death and how that all went down, because nothing is for sure, but actually the excavation process and when it started happening. Because the excavation process was almost like 300 years of work. And so the ruins of Pompeii were discovered in 1599, which I don't understand how a whole city can just disappear and nobody thinks about it for thousands of years, and then all of a sudden we pop back up and we're like, oh yeah, Pompeii. But I guess that's what we get for poor documentation back in the day. Whatever. And so actual systematic excavations didn't start happening until about 150 years later, which, to be clear, at the time that the city of Pompeii was rediscovered, Queen Elizabeth I was sitting on the throne. The Spaniards were just barely settling St. Augustine, Florida, and the whole settlement of Roanoke had just poof. Anyways, it wasn't until 1763 that it was confirmed that the city and the ruins that they found in 1599 were indeed Pompeii. And yeah, 1763 is before America decided to be America, so that's also crazy. As an American, sometimes I look at history and I realize how young the country actually really is. Anyways, moving on. In about 1860, that's when like archaeology efforts actually kind of start becoming a little more modernized, in which they go section by section instead of just kind of like digging wherever they could possibly find to dig. And from this point on, the excavation efforts just like get larger and larger and larger and larger with time, to the point that we see it today. And so it is still the Great Pompeii Project. They are still working on it. They are still excavating. It is a lot of work, and they are still finding more, learning more, discovering more. And it's kind of interesting to see it all unpack, because we're always taught, oh yeah, like there's such a huge social class difference between people back then, and we're so much more equal now, and blah, blah, blah. But in going through the bodies of the people who are there, they're seeing that the diets between classes are actually very similar. Like they're eating a lot of the same foods, same balanced diet, actually pretty healthy. And so Pompeii is just this whole time capsule of what life was actually like, instead of just doing it under the assumptions of the modern lens that we usually see things through. And it's kind of refreshing.